Hello, friends and fellow bloomers. Welcome back to the Blooming Together podcast. I am so glad that you're here with me today. I'm Susie Bloom, your host, and I have a wonderful guest here with me. His name is Tex Ostvig, works at the University of Minnesota. I was in one of his institute classes, and it was wonderful, and I'm so glad that I got to meet Tex. Brother Tex is what I call him, and he calls me Sister Susie, which I absolutely love. And because in our church, we call each other Brother Ostvig or Sister McAllister, but sometimes if it becomes more familiar and fun, you can say it in different ways. And so that's kind of what we have. In class, we always called him Brother Tex, which was super great. And so that's how we met, and it was immediate. Brother Tex, just how much you cared about us, your students. And I learned so much from you. And I'm so grateful that I get to call you friend now as well. And I'm so glad that we have kept in touch. And I'm so grateful that you agreed to do this interview because you are a total bloomer, like 100% bloomer. And you help so many people bloom in the things that you do. So welcome, Brother Tex, Tex Ostvig. And just so glad that you're here with me today.
Well, thank you so much, Sister Susie. It's great to be with you. And I come from the bold north of Minnesota. And as you can see, we have a roaring fire going on because it's a little chilly still here. And also, too, it's just great to be with you. And ditto to everything you said. I am enriched and I grow by my students. And you're obviously one of those students that we've kept in contact ever since our class. And we've watched each other grow and progress. And it is people like you and your example and your light that allows me to be who I am. And definitely as an instructor or as a friend or as a coach, I definitely just feel that we are here on this earth to be in people's lives, and whatever chance, moment, or longevity we have to be with each other is a chance for all of us to grow. So I was definitely growing with our class and with you specifically, and continue to share that opportunity with others. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is just such a treat, and I'm grateful for this opportunity and this experience. I'm hoping others will be able to join me because you're just doing amazing things. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm just so excited. And like I said, you're such a bloomer. We both are. And we both want so much to share love and light and goodness and bring people together. My word for this year, for every year, along with aspirations and goals that I have, and keep just kind of continue on from the last year. But I do choose a word. This started maybe 5 or 7 years ago. And this year, my word is connection. And I'm excited about that because I want to connect more with others. I want to connect more with my Heavenly Father and with my Savior Jesus Christ and with myself. And I just love this idea of connection. And I love that you also, one of the things that you talk about is that we're better together. That's one of the mottos that you have, that we, together we are better, together we are stronger, together we find success. And I 100% agree with that. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the Blooming Together podcast. And yeah, I love that. And I really do believe that we are better together. And often I close out my podcasts with, we're in this together, keep blooming, we're in this together. Why do you think we're better together and that success happens when we do things together?
There's a lot of different things with that. As you know, as an instructor, I like to be visual and things like that. And, just a simple thing when I'm working with students, or I'm working with my students at the U of M, or I'm working with my athletes and things like that. I just kind of use imagery about coming together in different ways. So a perfect example of that is that we have our two hands, right? And together they can make this wonderful connection. And so I just look at it as we all kind of are walking around, and we're separate in things, but as we come together, we are stronger. And so my two hands can hold a lot of things. I can lift a lot of things. I can carry a lot of things when my two hands are together. But when they're separate, it's not as strong. But, I think definitely as we think about being together, you know, the part of this belief is that we're here on this earth all together as God's children. And as we think about that, I follow a lot of quotes and a lot of different things. And one of them is each one reach one, each one teach one. It means that I need to reach out to folks. And when I reach out to folks, I can then teach them. As related to you, I also do words for the year. And my word this year is abundance. And I feel so blessed with so many things, from family and faith to my employment, to my coaching, and so many things. I feel like that abundance is something that I cannot take for granted. And so part of the abundance means I have abundance so I can share. So I also believe that's a part of just being together, is being able to share with what we have. And we never know when what we're sharing with someone is going to lift them, it's going to help them, it's going to guide them. And I've been coaching for a long time, and over 30 plus years. And I see the concept of teams. And again, no matter what the sport you look at, we need to be together to find success. We need to be together to support each other. We need to be together to trust each other. Yeah. And whether your team is a wrestling team or a football team, rugby, soccer team, and all those things I've coached, or whether the team is your family, this unity is an aspect of connection, and this unity that we need with one another truly is something that I feel strongly in. I like to kind of have my own little system of leadership development, and the first thing that we start with is connections. And as you build those connections with one, and maybe it's a connection of, what kind of family you came from or what kind of experiences, connections start first. I believe once those connections start happening, that creates conversations. Oh, we just made a connection. Oh, I'm from Minnesota, you're from Minnesota. Or I knew somebody from Minnesota. And now we're going to talk more. So that connection leads to communication or conversations. And those two things, connections and communication, will then lead us to building community. And that community will build collaborations. And I just feel that those kind of the C's there can really bring us to who we are and what we need to be. And finally, after we make the collaborations, we bring forth the thing that we want the most in a positive way, which is change.
I love that. I love everything that you shared. And I mean, that just speaks to how we can have success in the world that we're living in. I mean, community, and it all starts with us. It all starts with us as individuals, as we reach out and connect, and we need that connection. And, we are better together, blooming together. And I love that. I mean, really, I really honestly believe that there are so many more people in the world that want that connection than not. I think that most of us do. We want unity. We want to connect, and we want to make sure that things are good for all of us. So, yeah, I think that's important. So I love your job title. The main job title at the school literally is Student Success and Development Coordinator. I mean, how much do you love your job? I mean, what a great title. And I mean, how much do you love what you do? And tell me a little bit about what you do as a Student Success and Development Coordinator. I love that.
Thank you. It's one of those things that, interesting enough, my student success piece at the University of Minnesota started actually when I was a student, and I was given the opportunity to be a student leader, which was called ambassadors at the time. And then that turned into an orientation leader where, I was giving orientation tours to roughly 300 students a day over the summer, and we're meeting with parents. And so this connection to people just became so strong. And earlier in my life, especially with my mother being an educator as well, it was one of those things instilled upon me that, helping, my success is your success and your success is my success. Mm-hmm. And so being able to look at that saying, what can I do and how can I help you lift yourself to be better? And so that just really started when I was really young, especially with the sports of wrestling, which I participated in heavily in addition to baseball and football and track and field. But wrestling just really made me understand that because of a practice partner, I can make them better. And in return, I'm getting better in the process. Part of it is also understanding that when I graduated from the U of M, I graduated on a Sunday and was like, okay, what do I do with my life now? And then I found out there was an opportunity for me to actually work at the U of M. And so I applied on a Tuesday, and then I was subsequently interviewed and then hired the following Friday. So I'm one of those
Wow.
people that I literally left, the campus for just a few days to come back and interview, and the next thing I'm hired. And I was given the opportunity to actually be and my first job was assistant director for orientation, which meant that I had a cohort of 24 students to prepare them to be orientation leaders, to be role models, to be ambassadors. And so that's where it first started. And since then,
Wow.
through all the years, I've had jobs that have always led me towards students, have always guided me to helping students find success. And so when the students come to the University of Minnesota specifically, I tell them my job title is student success and progress and development. But from the first day of classes to the last day of graduation, what can Tex do for you to find success? And that's kind of been my mantra, and I've just followed it. And whether, helping students through difficult times of losing a parent
Mm.
in accidents or illness, and guiding them and directing them to say, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
To students who went 3.5 years with a degree in physics, and the December of their graduation came to me and said, I don't want to be in physics. I want to be a pianist. I want to play the piano. But I've always done what everyone else has wanted me to do. But I finally want to be a pianist. I want to be in concerts. And so 3.5 years of education suddenly turned into them having to tell their parents and their family members, I'm not going to be a physicist. I'm not going to go into sciences. I want to be a pianist. And navigating that's one of my stories that I just love, because it took a lot of courage for them to figure out what they wanted. And that's just one example of many. A lot of first generation students I work with. And
Mhm.
so they really need that support. Mom and dad have never gone to college. Brothers and sisters have never gone to college. And traditional college students, they've had one or two parents go. And so they know the gist, they know the system, they know
Right.
everything else. So in working with first generation students, and actually students from low income communities, as well as underrepresented. So I've kind of leaned myself towards finding those students and seeking them out, and they seek me out. And in the process, it's just been wonderful. And I truly do love what I do. My students and the youth of the students brings me hope. It brings me the fire and the energy that I need to talk about them. I think of someone like Gray, who we met 4 years ago, and I just gave him an application to a graduate school, and now he's a graduate student here at the U of M. So now
Wow.
our 4 year journey is turning into 5 years, and he's got a
Mm.
couple of years. And Gray's just one of those special people. And I could go name after name of other people that have really touched my life,
Yeah.
because we made connections about trying to help them find success. But yeah, I really do love what I do. I love who I serve. Like I kind of tell the people when they ask me, you've been here for a long time. I mean, working with students is a lot, and it gets hard and challenging, but there's also the triumphs and the
Mhm.
joys. But I like to think that students are my work and my work are my students. So things like that just bring me more joy. And again, we're here to find joy in our journey, and definitely serving students and helping students and guiding them brings me joy.
I uh, I love that, and I've had some experience with that a long time ago. Shortly after uh, my husband and I were married, back in the late '90s. I worked as a youth program coordinator. I was working for Head Start with the littles, but then I also worked for Healthy Start and youth. And I worked at a school that was K through 12, I think. No, K through 8. And I worked with our high schoolers also in the community. And we started at sixth grade. So sixth through 12th grade was our youth program. And we had an add on building for that program. And I made it as cozy and homey as I could. And I was a family advocate, and I was working closely with our population of kids there. And almost, gosh, I want to say almost none of those kids. We had a high dropout rate in this
Mhm.
community. Most parents hadn't gone to college, but there was a strong desire among the parents for their kids to be more successful than they were. They wanted this for their
Mhm.
kids, but there were so many factors working against them. And so I tried as a community liaison and a family advocate to try to work with this. And I love it now, 30 years later, 30 plus years later. I'm still in touch with some of those kids. And one of them, I really hope that he's going to be a guest. I've been putting the bug in his ear because it's tremendous what he has achieved, and his siblings as well. But he was the first in his family to graduate high school. And he was not on that track when he started in our program as a sixth grader. And I've watched him grow, and I was overjoyed to go to his high school graduation. And so along that same vein, it's so exciting when that I've been able to keep in touch with a few of these kids, and some are like family to me. And it's amazing because what I was able to help him accomplish only helped me in return as well. And truly, what we put out there in service and helping others, it just comes back to us as well. It fills both of our buckets, I guess you could say. You know, we're out there. I just, like you, get so much joy from trying to help and lift others. And when we're lifting others, we're only rising ourselves. I think I read that somewhere. That might be someone's quote, but it's true. Like, if we're going up a mountain and we're helping to get someone else to the top, well, we're going to get to the top too. You know, we really are better together. Oh, and that was another thing that I loved when you sent me, when we were talking, when I read your bio. One of the things that I absolutely love, just that your philosophy is simple yet powerful. Meet people where they are, recognize that leadership is a journey, and help others discover their plan, purpose, and potential. I love that so much. And I could feel that in your class immediately. I knew that I didn't even know that this was your philosophy, but I knew your philosophy because you lived it. You were that. You embodied that as a teacher, and I could feel that. You wanted me to figure things out. And I was in a time in my life where I was trying to figure things out, and I still am, but I love that's one of your purposes, is to help me find my purpose, you know, and to be able to carry out my plan once I find it, and then reach my potential. So I don't know what you have that you could speak to that a little bit more for us.
Definitely. I think it's one of those things, and I go back to the young people that I serve and work with, and whether, serving as an instructor, serving as a coach of many years, as well as serving as a leader for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and some of the assignments and callings that I've had. I think it really is one of those things that many of us are trying to figure out our way. I have two beautiful, wonderful grandchildren right now, Henrik and Rowan. And it's wonderful to watch now my daughter be the parent and to watch her guide them, but also, again, together we're better, right? So when they come over to my home, watching her work with them, but then also me working with them as well, from the wisdom and knowledge and experiences that I've had, to help them see what their true potential is. And I think sometimes as we go through life, we lose sight of what our potential really is and can be. And, again, back to coaching, it's one of those things that, and also in life, is that I need to see you for not who you are, but who you can become. Mm-hmm. And so that guides me and aligns me with saying, how can I help you figure out your full potential? Because I think so many of us in this world that we live in, of negativity sometimes, we are blinded to what our potential really is, and we kind of just stay the status quo. And I remember one of the quotes that I've heard is, and I can't recall who said it, but it was one of the things that if you want to be average, mediocre, congratulations, you've achieved it. But you weren't put on this earth to be average or mediocre. Right? You were brought here for much greater purposes and higher purposes. And so I've always kind of thought about that in the sense of, we want to be above and beyond. We want to reach our full potential. And also that comes success. And I always tell my students and others, your success may be different than my success, but
Yes.
success is whatever you create it to be for yourself.
Yeah.
It's interesting is that as I've grown through the years, that when I'm helping others find their potential, when have others finding their purpose, I start to remember and rebuild my own desires, aspirations, and hopes. And so it really is one of those things that even though I feel like I'm strengthening others, they're strengthening me in return. And so it's just a win-win
100%.
situation. And as you just shared and expressed, when you can see people that are lifted out of areas, both physically, emotionally, or spiritually, into higher levels and higher
Mm-hmm.
heights, it's just amazing to watch and the joy that comes from that. So I think
Yeah.
that's a big part of some of the things that I look at when I'm really trying to help people find their full potential.
I love that. And what I love about all of that, the first thing that part of your philosophy is meeting them where they're at. That's huge. To me, that's huge. That is because meeting you can only start from where you're at. And one of the things that I've gotten trapped in before is, too much time, thinking that I can change the past. You can't change the past. You can't do anything about it. And I can't really do too much about the future except with what I do right now. So when we meet each other where we're at and we truly love each other unconditionally, and start from there and meet on, common ground and just build each other up. I mean, there's only, if we do that, then there's only, you know, going forward, which
Mm-hmm.
is so positive and great. There's only possibility before us if we do it that way. We can't do anything about the past, but if we meet each other where we're at and acknowledge those things and acknowledge where we're at, well, I just feel like from there, you can reach your potential. From there, you really can just keep blooming. I mean, if we really got to go into it, I mean, honestly, blooming is a process, for all things in nature, and we get there eventually, and we have to
Right.
be patient with ourselves and give ourselves time to grow. And we all look differently. I have some pictures that I've made and little drawings, and I've seen quotes before about blooming and growing. And growth looks different for everybody, and it has like a little potted plant, a succulent, a tall
Mhm.
tree. It's like we're all growing at different phases and stages, and that's how it's meant to be.
Mhm.
So I just feel like meeting each other where we're at is key, and accepting that. Part of that is acceptance and then being patient. I don't know why it's taken me so many years, Brother Tex, to figure this out. And I feel like I'm only on the cusp of just beginning to understand and learn, so much. And then the more I learn, the more I realize I need to learn. And it's just,
Mhm.
we're ever learning, we're ever blooming. It's just part of that process. One thing I did have a question about though, explain what servant leadership is and what it means to you. That was something that was intrigued me. Servant leadership. What is that?
Great, great question. So, servant leadership is one of the many leadership models that are out there. And as someone who's taught leadership over these past many decades, it's one of the things that I've gravitated towards. The credit actually goes to a gentleman named Robert Greenleaf, and he actually explored what leadership really meant. It really comes down to this, is that as a leader, the most important thing is not myself. The most important thing is not all of my hopes, dreams, aspirations, missions, uh, assignments, tasks, goals, themes that we
Hmm.
always look to leaders to give us. You know, as you think about a leader's like, well, our mission is going to be this and this and this. We're going to grow, our company this and this, or
Yeah.
our values or our principles. But to me, and teaching leadership really says a servant requires humility. And there's some great leadership examples of that. There's books about it. There's quotes about it. Leaders Eat Last is one of those that I've grown close to because it really talks about this notion of put others ahead of yourself. And that's what true leadership is. And if you think about that, servant leadership as you dwell into it more, has a lot of Christian values and Christian basis.
Right.
And so if you think about Jesus Christ
Right.
and what
The
he did,
obvious,
was a
leader.
servant leader
Exactly.
because he
Yeah.
served those around him first before serving himself. And so to me, servant leadership is basically that. It is someone who I think has had the experience and the knowledge
Hmm.
and the insight to say, wait a minute, I need to serve the people that are around me first. And then we can go to the leadership part. And there's a lot of things about trust. There's a lot of things about creating connections
Right.
versus a leader who walks in and says, I'm the leader, I'm the boss, I'm the instructor,
Right.
this is the way it is.
Right.
Versus a servant leader is going to meet people where they're at, is going to
Yeah.
know who they're working with, is going to know what their needs are, is going to know where they need to grow, and basically just kind of have this, I'm going to say, spirit of humility to say, them first, but I can be an instrument to help them, to be guided to grow and develop. And then my leadership can start to evolve, and then we'll see what they really need
Right.
versus other people. Again, a title comes in, or you're elected to a position, and it's like, all right, well, I'm in charge, so let's go.
Right.
And I think
Right.
servant leadership takes a little step back and again works with people to see where you are in the moment, what you can control, what you can't
Yeah.
control, and
Yeah.
then where you need to go further. I also think a servant leader is someone who has a lot of patience, and it
Absolutely.
requires a lot of patience in
Right.
order to move mountains in many
Yeah.
ways, and to move people and to move institutions and organizations and systems. Perfect example is the educational system we have. It is very old and it needs a lot of changes, but you need to do it little by little. And we've made improvements along the ways. But it's one of those things that I think servant leader is really about. How do I see myself helping, serving first? And then the leadership will come second.
Absolutely. And, as you were sharing, I was thinking about great leaders throughout the times. And sometimes I feel like people misunderstand servant and the word servant because you said the humility factor. And sometimes people think that humility is the same as weakness, and it's not. Humility requires incredible strength and patience and this ability to see things in a different way that's better for the whole instead of just ourselves. And I'm grateful for servant leaders. I'm great, and of course, above all, Jesus Christ. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we love him because he loves us and he leads us with love. He's the perfect example of strength and humility and connection and doing things for everyone else and unifying us through perfect love.
Mm-hmm.
Just this incredible, perfect love that's unconditional and amazing, meeting us where we're at. I mean, the perfect leader, just amazing. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that you explained that. Thank you for clarifying that a little bit for me.
You're welcome.
You've had so much experience. Are there any experiences from your coaching to your teaching, whether it's at the university level or coaching with your own kids? You volunteer and serve a ton in your community with your wife. Are there any experiences through all of those things that stand out to you of this idea of blooming together, of connection and community and communication, servant leadership? Any of those things stand out that you would like to expound upon?
Hmm. How much time do we have?
All day. No, I'm just kidding.
I do have a lot of those experiences etched in my heart. I can share a couple. I think coming to coaching, I was very humbled and just realized again, I think, I try to tell myself that as long as I'm following quote unquote righteous desires, I'm in the right place at the right time for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I was coaching wrestling at a specific tournament, and one of my athletes who I'd been coaching with, and trying to help them out. And again, I will profess that I think wrestling is probably the hardest sport in the world as a young person and growing up because of all the demands it requires. But we're at a tournament, and he came up to me and goes, "Hey, Coach Tex, I just have a question for you. I know you tried out for the Olympics, and I'm just curious, what would have happened if you actually had made the Olympic team?" I said, "Wow, that's a really good question." I said, "I would have been on the Olympic team. I would have been able to fulfill my dream and goal of wearing red, white, and blue, and potentially be on the podium, and put my hand over my heart and watch that American flag be raised, and humbly probably sing the words as the national anthem was played. I probably from then would have tried for the next Olympics, depending on the situation, and if not, I definitely would have gone into coaching, probably at the world level or the college level, or I would have gone back to Colorado Springs and been a part of their Olympic training staff. And I would probably be doing all that. And, it definitely would have been a different place in a different world. And so, sorry, it still gets me after all these years. He looks at me and he says, "I'm sorry you didn't make the Olympics, Coach, but I'm glad you didn't, because if you had made the Olympics, you wouldn't be here coaching me." Ah. So,
Yeah.
I just put my arm around him and looked at him and said, "Thank you. Thank you so much. And there's no place I'd rather be than coaching you right now." So it was just one of those things that sometimes we look at life, and we think, we had aspirations and dreams and hopes, and we think, oh, it didn't work out, and was I a failure? Was I not successful? And all those things. And then you come back 12, 15, 20 years later, and you realize, okay, all these things are there for my experience, and now I'm in the right place. And I think as you move forward with your own life and with others, when you can get that sense, and I'm going to say there's heavenly angels, right? And there's earthly angels. And we also get heavenly messages and earthly messages from angels. And when he told me that in the bleachers of Minnetonka High School, back in early, late 1990s, that was just a moment there, like I said, etched in my heart, that I realized, yeah, I'm doing the right things, and God has put me where I need to be. Now, some 30 years later, I'm still coaching and doing things. And so that's one experience that just has really helped me realize that, there's a plan. We may not know why things happen the way they happen, but there continues to be opportunities for us to grow and develop and to serve and be where we need to be. Another moment goes back to teaching. Again, being an instructor over the years, you see these young people and they come in and they have all these hopes and dreams, and we get them into college, and then it's like, okay, the ups and downs of the first semester and living away from home and all those different things. And I remember one of my students, he came to me and he was struggling, first generation. He's from California, really not sure what to do. And he was one of those individuals that just was really powerful in who he was and who he wanted to be. But he just needed just a little bit of hope, a little bit of spark to get him where he needed to be. And I kind of shared with him, I said, tell me about how you got here. And he said, well, grew up in Los Angeles area, and there's gang influences, and I had to get out of that and things like that. And then my parents didn't have any money, and then they came across from Mexico and didn't have any money at all. And then they had us, and then we were poor and we did this, but then they got a job and they got 2 jobs, they got 3 jobs. And he just went on this whole thing about how much it took to get him there. And then, they weren't sure if he was going to be able to come to the University of Minnesota because it was so far away and he'd never been on a plane before, and it was so expensive and all these things. But he got here, through a series of events. And I just looked at him and I said, so you've taken a lot to get here. And he said, yeah. And I said, you didn't come this far just to come this far. You have so much ahead of you. And I said, as someone who's also struggled in academics and things, and I told him a little bit of the truthfulness of my college career where I did not do very well academically.
Yeah.
But I just said, you need to know that. You didn't come this far, just come this far. There's so much more. And so we took that moment and said, okay, let's hit the reset button. And also, I also shared with him is that, when does your future begin? So I don't know. I said, your future begins at your next thought.
Yeah.
That's where your future begins. So let's get new thoughts. Let's not think about all the things we're not doing right. Let's think about the things we are doing right. So again, working with him and having that was kind of one of those aha moments again in teaching and being kind of a mentor that really was supportive. Another one is another student. She was the first person in her family to ever go to college. Generations upon generations, never gotten to college.
Wow.
And she was also struggling one day. And we weren't sure if she was able to stay in school financially, just because it cost a lot to be in school and things like that. So we talked about financial aid and we talked about jobs and things like that. And I said, and she was really close. She was a junior going to her senior year, but things were struggling and her family was struggling. And she's like, should I go back home? Should I, drop out of school for now and go help my parents and my family and, give them support financially, all the support they've given me and things like that. And I said to her, I said, okay, I understand that. And I mean, I was to the point of like, I'm a family of 6. Can I write my own check to help her out? I mean, on an educator's budget. And I was just feeling it. And I told her, I said, you shared a lot of things. I said, why are you in college? Why do you want to graduate? And another emotional moment. The first thing, you think is about her. And she said, I am here for my little sister. My little sister has never had a strong role model in education. And she said, I want to show my little sister that a strong Latina female can go to college and can graduate. So I'm here for my sister. Another moment, right? Servant leadership. It's not about, I'm here to get a degree. I'm going to get a good job. I'm going to get, well paid. I'm going to buy my house. I'm going to start a family, which is kind of the traditional things I hear. But she was like, I'm here for my sister. It was interesting because it kind of took her that moment for me to ask her, like, why are you here? What's your why? She's like, oh my
The
gosh,
why.
my sister.
Yes.
Like
the
my
why is
and my
so important.
my hermanita, my little sister. And so she's like, yeah, we're going to figure this out. And so we went and we ended up finding some financial funds that we could get from the university and things like that. And then she ended up graduating. And it was one of the proudest moments. The sad part is because her family was so far away, they couldn't be there in person to watch her graduate. But just to know, to watch her graduate and just to know that she did it for her sister and generations beyond her. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So those are a couple of things from coaching, and those are a couple of things in my teaching that have really kind of guided me and directed me, and just realized the importance of humanity, the importance of just realizing that we're all in this together, that we can be inspirations to each other, for each other, and with each other. And so as I think about it, those are things that kind of are etched in my heart in many ways. I have many other stories as well that I can share, but those are the top 3 when it comes to coaching and teaching specifically.
I love that. Have you ever watched the movie Rudy?
Along with every other sports movie,
Okay, well,
much like
that's what I was
it.
figuring. Well, that happens to be my favorite football movie ever.
Okay.
And the reason is sort of like what you were sharing. I love that your student that you were just talking about, she was there for her little sister, but she was going to get all of those other things
Right.
as a consequence of her choice and decision to go to college, even because she wanted to set that example. She was going to have all those positive residual effects. And I love that. And that kind of happened also with Rudy. He broke a cycle and was so determined and just patience, patience, patience. I just constantly astounded by how much tenacity and just determination that it took for him to do that and to get through college and to get on that. I mean, it blows my mind every time. But I
Right.
love that when they tell you what really happened, because it's a true story, that
Right.
all of his younger siblings went to college. So they moved. Not that it's not a bad thing to work in a factory. It is not a, yeah, we need that. We need all kinds of work. We need all kinds of education. But I love that his younger siblings now had a choice. They didn't, I don't think they realized they had a choice
Mhm.
before that. They were going to
Right.
do the same thing that dad did, that older brothers did. They were going to do the same thing that every other man that they saw in that town had done for generations. But now they had this other example. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. What? I can go a different direct. I don't. I can
Mhm.
do this. I can go and get a different education and do a completely different thing. Yes, you can. And
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's fabulous. So,
Thank you so much. I'll also just kind of share too, and this is kind of something that may have come out later, but again, I just have to think about family too, and
mhm.
what that's done for me. Again, being youngest of 9 children, I was adopted when I was 3 months old, and so I don't know my natural birth mother or father, but I know the family that adopted me and how much they cared for me. And as I continue to grow, and then subsequently marry my high school sweetheart, and we start our family, I'll just say that as we look at it, the opportunity to help family members along the way is another part of that's been a part of my life. I know that when you think about it, a family can be defined different ways, as we've talked
Mhm.
about before. But my specifically situation, with my 4 kids, and again, being a coach, I was very interested in making sure that there was uniqueness in our family. And so if you look at our kids, which is really special to me and have been a special part of my life and continue to be a special part, I have the word team in my kids, right? So Tessa, Ellie, Alexis, Marcus.
I love
And
it.
so I will have to say too that part of, again, finding purpose in things have been my kids, and to have my team, as we call them, has been as special. And from Tessa being, the first, and enduring what it means to, like, okay, first time parents, first time this,
Right?
um, to the other kids, Ellie being just a special child that just kind of got caught in the middle of things and stuff, but just still progressed, and the wonderful leadership that Tessa gave. And then Alexis and Marcus, right? Just being able to be nurtured and guided by the older siblings and things, and also being nurturers as givers as well. But I will say, because of my team, I'm a better human being. I'm a better person.
Mhm.
I'm a better father because of them. They taught me so many lessons that we always think as parents we're teaching them, but they can
Oh,
teach us so much if we give them the opportunity. And
yeah.
subsequently, they made me a better husband because of that. And
Mhm.
I also had the blessing of being able to coach them in all their different activities and sports. And hence the reason I became a coach in so many ways, because I figured I could either be coaching on the sidelines or I could be in the stands. And I just decided, starting with Tessa, and Ellie is my 2 oldest, they end up going into rugby. And so I helped coach them in rugby as one of the major sports, as a kind of volunteer coach. And then there
Love
was
it.
also soccer that they were in, and other things like that. And the same thing for Alexis, or Lexi as we call her, and Marcus. Just being able to support them as a coach, and gave me such different insight, because not only am I their father, but I'm their coach.
Hmm.
But obviously, the parent is first in that. But yeah,
Right.
they've given me so much, and other adults with their own kids, and moving forward. And they just are continuing to teaching me about what it means to be a great parent, to be a great family. And however we define family, whether it's brothers and sisters or uncles and aunts, or people around us, right? I consider some community members part of my family as well. You don't need to be blood to be family. So I just think
No way.
family holistically is one of those also ways that has really guided me and directed me, and given me the support and that I've needed along the way, especially when it comes into the lives of our children, the lives of our family, and also how they reflect upon us. So anyway, just wanted to put that out there, because family definitely is a strong piece of who we are. In fact, if you look at
Oh
the picture
yeah.
right behind me, that's actually a picture of our family, and there's a historical piece dating all the way back to Nauvoo. And so
Oh, wow.
that picture has a story in itself about where our first ancestors started in Nauvoo and where we've come since then. So families all over. And again, part of the family is being understand what it means that we are one big family on this
Yeah.
earth if we just look at each other as brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. And if we look at each other as brothers and sisters, we treat each other differently. We love each other differently. And I think that's key. If we can just remember that not only are we a beloved child of God, but that we're all children of God and part of that big happy family. Well, not always happy, but we're trying. No, that big family of God. Definitely, we approach one another with more love, I think, and strive for greater unity and better communication and all those things. Well, I like to ask, because this is the Blooming Together podcast, but what does that phrase, bloom where you're planted, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so since you invited me to do this, I've been thinking a lot about what it means to me. And it's interesting that at different times, I have different answers. And so I'm just hoping that at this point, this is the answer I have today. So let that be the first thing. I think blooming where you're planted alters with your environment and your situation. And I think what it could be to me today might change tomorrow or the next week. And so I think I love that aspect is that we are continuing evolving and we are a product of our environment and whatever environment we're in. So for example, when I coached my son Marcus in wrestling, that was my environment. When I supported my daughter Lexi in speech, that was my environment. Two way different environments. The same thing with Ellie in soccer and Tessa in rugby and things. Different environments. When I'm in the classroom, it's a different environment. So the first thing I would say is that blooming your plant is about being where you are in the moment
I love
and
that.
establishing yourself and then defining it. And I'm an acronym guy, as I just shared with you about my team.
Yeah.
So as I thought about it, I'm going to say that today, this moment with you, blooming where you're planted is faith. And I'm going to use the acronym of faith, meaning the F stands for focus. Blooming where I'm planted means I need to focus on where I'm at. What are the circumstances? What's going on? What's around me? Who's around me?
I love that.
The A would stand for aspirations. Here I
Okay.
am in the moment. What aspirations do I have about where I want to be and where I want to go? The I would stand for intentionality. I need to be intentional. If I want to grow, I need to be intentional about where I'm growing, how I'm growing, and what I need to grow. I also think then the T would stand for thoughtfulness. I need to be thoughtful in who I am, how my growing will affect other people, how my growing will be something that will take me to where I want to go and be closer to the things that I want to be closer to, whether God, family, work, success, sports, whatever it might be. But that thoughtfulness, I need to be intentionally thoughtful, right, about who I am. And then the H, I think, just stands for hope.
Love it.
I need to have hope that where I'm at the moment is a place that I'm supposed to be. But it doesn't mean I have to stay there. And I
Right.
have hope that I will be guided and directed by God, by my loved ones, by self. And I think that hope then takes us to the next level of blooming where we're planted. Because I think if you were to ask me this when I was, a young man out of college, just finished wrestling at the college level, and was, being able to serve a mission and things like that, I definitely would have a way different answer than I do now, almost 60
Right.
years old.
Yeah.
It's about who we can become, and it's
Hmm.
about how many people we can bring with us, influence and guide in the process. And from that, blooming together also means that together we're better, together we're stronger, together we'll find success.
I love it. I love it. I think that's fantastic, and I agree 100%. Blooming where we're planted is about being present in that moment. I love that. And yes, my answer would have been different a long time ago too. I think I have a better understanding of what blooming where I'm planted actually means. And everything that you just said definitely speaks to how I feel about it too. I love that. Faith, focus, aspiration, intentionality, thoughtful, and hope. I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank
Brother
you.
Tex,
Appreciate you.
this has been amazing. And I am just so grateful that you took the time to be with me today and to talk about all things blooming. Any last thoughts that you would like to share before we say goodbye?
Sure. I invite all listeners for three things. Number one, may the things you hear allow you to take action in your life that might guide you, direct you, help you, advance you to where you want to be. The second invitation is that, as we look at who we are, we understand and know that we don't need to be perfect, but we just need to strive for excellence. And what that means is that I just need to be the best version of myself today that there can be. You know yourself better than anyone else. And so find that best version today and work for it, and then accept it and acknowledge it. And then get ready to be the best version of yourself tomorrow. And in doing so, you'll find what you need. And the other thing too is that I love this little quote: learn to make the most of life, lose no happy day, for time will never bring you back, chances swept away. Take opportunities, embrace them, run towards them, and realize there's so much ahead if you're willing to take the first step. So those are a couple of things I'd share with you and all those that'll be listening and watching. And again, thank you so much for who you are and putting together and taking the courage and strength to create this wonderful opportunity for individuals to hear your voice, to hear your stories and your inspirations. Blooming Together is a wonderful message for all of us to hear, all because you started it with your idea and your intentionality. So thank you so much for bringing so much to so many through your podcast and all that you do. You're amazing, you're wonderful, and I know there are hundreds of people that listen to you, upon even more, that are grateful for you. And if they would say thank you now, they would. They'd say, muchas gracias por todo. Thank you for everything you are and what you give.
Thank you, Brother Tex. Seriously, you're just a marvelous human being doing such great things. And you've taught me again today. And I appreciate your friendship, your love, your support, the things that you do for all of the people that you teach, coach. Thank you. Thanks for blooming with me today. I appreciate it so, so much. This has been just a wonderful time. And I knew it would be. So thank you. Thanks for tuning in today. You can also visit me on social media and at susiebloom.com. Until next time, keep blooming and make it a marvelous day.